For many characters in Battle for Dream Island, being claimed by the scythe known as Elimination is an unfortunate likelihood. Only one character can win after all, and in a season with now 45 characters who've competed/are competing, many contestants have now fallen. Some outs were expected, some were unexpected, but the threat of elimination was always expected. That threat continued to loom in the wake of TPOT 19, especially with how hard the vote was to predict. With the episode now out, 2 more characters officially bit the bullet. TV was one of those characters, and I have a lot of thoughts about his exit. For those not in the know, I made a whole analysis about why TV is my favorite character, despite his mixed reception, and predicted he'd survive the elimination, which definitely didn't happen. Because he's officially out, I figure I should clear the air and in a way conclude my thoughts on his role in TPOT as a whole. I'll be going over many things, including his role in the most recent episode, my wrong prediction, how I think his fan perception will change, what he could do now that he's out, and give my final thoughts on how TV earned his spot in TPOT. Starting with the episode itself, TPOT 19 opens with a bang. 1 starts bass boosting the crack in the sky, which makes a lightning storm that not even Black Hole can contain. To counter the danger, 4 gives the final 17 a piece of 2's power to try and fight back, but they're eventually all forced to retreat. Things are tense, the pressure is immense, so when Tree asks if anyone has a distraction from the destruction, TV suggests they do, some cake at stake. Because X is gone, 2 is depressed, and 4 is preoccupied, TV reclaims his role as host that he lost in BFDIA, and begins Team 2's elimination with a ton of pizzazz. Seriously, his hosting is very fun and engaging, with how the info is shown, along with how he keeps things at a mostly steady pace. Maybe 2's power is rubbing off on him, or he wants to go out with a bang, because I do think this ceremony is really well done. The prize for being safe is a celebration clip, which he delivers to Team 2 as Book, Price Tag, and Grassy are safe, while Snowball is out. After Team 2 is done, 4 complains about not liking too many hosts, but TV still carries on with beginning the elimination for his team, or rather, himself. Penn is unsurprisingly the first safe, followed by Bottle. JK, it's Tennis Ball, who's then followed by Bottle, leaving TV and Lai in the bottom 2. Lai starts stressing out. Penn starts to join her, but as the votes are revealed,
Whoa, what's the holdup?
Because I'm out with 15,479 votes.
Their stress is unwarranted because TV is out with a decent gap in voting numbers. You may think by my tone that I'm not too upset about my favorite character being eliminated, to which you'd be half wrong. I'm not burning with rage, since I do like everyone else on Bagged, but learning he was eliminated almost immediately from meetup spoilers did leave me a bit bummed that my prediction was wrong. I'll get deeper into how I feel about the elimination in general closer to the end, but for now, all that's important is that I can't be too upset considering how deep his run was. Let's get back on track though, because the scene that takes place after his elimination is very interesting. TV looks around at his team and some other friend groups and sees no one is really upset or cares about him being eliminated. Compared to the goodbye grass he had with Snowball, or even the karma characters like Pillow or Yellowface got, TV doesn't have resolution. Looking back at what I'd call his main dynamics, Penn is much closer with Lai and is happy she's safe, Golf Ball is preoccupied with the situation, Grassy is sad that Snowball's gone, and while Tennis Ball definitely would be sad about TV being eliminated, the writers thought ahead and booted him out of the room once he was declared safe. In response to this lack of consideration, TV once again laments that there is still no respect for mechanical minds, and, to be a bit petty, wishes to see how much respect they have for each other. Since he's still the host even after being eliminated, TV announces that the challenge is a battle royale, and the first 2 teams wiped out are up for elimination. Pencil immediately starts going ham and learns that she'll get more of 2's power for each kill she racks up. This does not bode well for TV, because after he thinks he's all good when a piece of cardboard hides him, Pencil eviscerates him, causing his death to gain more power. And just like that, TV's role in the episode comes to a close. While it is shorter, only during the first third, I think it's another great one for him. His hosting is memorable, he makes a big impact on the episode, and while his exit lacks resolution, which I'll get into later, I think it further opens up potential for TV to do more this season, or even a future one. Let's not dive into the future quite yet though, as now that we're done going through his swan song, let's turn back the clock to the elimination itself, and see what went wrong for TV to cause his exit. On screen, you can see my original prediction and how it stacks up against what actually happened. Pretty terrible, right? But I at least got one placement right, even if it was very obvious. Penn got lots of content in episodes 16 and 17, which combined with usually doing well in voting, made him a shoo-in for first safe. Tennis Ball, on the other hand, was a bit more surprising. He always gets votes, but having a modest increase after a smaller role these past few episodes is very surprising indeed. Maybe more fans thought he could be in danger, maybe him being predicted to be eliminated in BFDIA caused an uptick, even though he survived, but it could really just be that he's simply popular and enough people wanted him to be safe. On to Bottle, and she's a bit less interesting because while I did guess her placement wrong, I did think there was a chance she'd underperform, so third safe isn't very shocking. All that's left are TV and Lie, but I'm actually going to fast forward past Lie for now, because her survival is very interlinked with TV's downfall. You see, the thing that surprised me the most about this vote initially was that TV actually lost some votes compared to his last time up for elimination, despite his big role in episode 17. What exactly happened then? Well, to better understand the situation, let's first talk about swing voters. Not to be confused with swing states, the term is used to describe people voting in elections that aren't loyal to one group. While on a much smaller scale, the term still applies to voting to save in Battle for Dream Island. Every character has fans who will vote for them no matter what, so what really matters is how the people who aren't loyal to one character will vote in any given episode. With that in mind, the question now becomes, why did TV's big role not convince more people to vote for him? The answer is because Bottle and Lie simply outclassed him in seeming more appealing. Bottle for her hosting and being very fun and goofy attracted the votes of people who would have maybe voted for TV if her role was smaller, and Lie being a recent debuter, having clear plot potential with Penn and Black Hole much longer than what they began with TV and Tree, and potentially being in danger, made people more inclined to vote for her. Both these factors, combined with Penn's focus and Tennis Ball already having way more support than TV in previous votes, meant that TV couldn't keep up with the rest of his team, creating a vote gap between him and Lie of almost 7,000. In a lot of ways, his journey in Teapot actually mirrors what happened to another character, that being Yellowface. Both characters are pretty polarizing, yet got consistently high votes in early stages of the game. Both had run-ins with the bottom two before having a bigger episode. Some people thought they'd be safe after said bigger episode, only for it to turn out that they were outclassed by their peers. Regardless of similar situations, now that we've seen what caused his elimination, let's talk about the future, starting with his hate. When most characters who have naysayers are eliminated, the natural progression of their consensus is that their hate dies down thanks to not being in the show, but they still remain disliked for the same reasons they were when they were still in the game. That will naturally apply for TV as well, but when considering the reasons why he's hated, along with what he did in his Elimination episode, I think there will be some interesting developments. To quickly re-establish the reasons why TV can be disliked, they are that he does nothing, is only useful as a tool, has no personality, and robs better characters out of the game. I already gave my reasons as to why his critiques can be both overblown and understandable, but the reason that matters most is that last one. Now that he's out of the game, the arbitrary diss of why is TV still in the game can't really exist anymore, and considering he went out on a high note with his last couple episodes, I could see his reception neutral out a bit over time. Liked by some people, disliked by others, but not being nearly as contentious as he was before. That is, until we consider one last wrinkle this episode added. Remember, TV was the one who made the challenge a battle royale, which was one of the dominoes that chained into Pencil, giving one the powers of both 2 and 4, which, even without knowing one's endgame plan, is definitely a bad thing. He could either get a lot of flack for this, or sympathy, since no one mourned his elimination, making his choice understandable. Regardless of what the collective opinion becomes, let's break down his actions a bit. Making the challenge a battle royale was definitely petty, as I said earlier, but it definitely falls in line with his characterization of wanting respect and being vengeful when blatantly disrespected. He was the last mechanical mind in the game, after all, so seeing that fact and himself being ignored, it makes sense that he'd want a bit of payback through utilizing his unique position as still being the host even after his elimination. Now you could still blame TV a bit, considering the challenge led to Pencil going on a rampage, but one is definitely most at fault for obviously causing the whole mess this episode and throughout the season. His actions may have not been wise, but saying that everything going to hell was entirely his fault would be a bit short-sighted. He even got some swift karma with how quickly he was taken out by Pencil, so personally, I think his bitter parting gift only contributes to making him more compelling in the same way characters like Pencil, One, and especially Lie also got more interesting after this episode. That being said, while I don't think his actions deserve a tsunami of slander like they could receive, I don't think it works super well as the end of TV's role in TPOT. Sure, it's interesting, but like I said discussing his elimination, his exit lacks closure. It's to the point where I think there are a few routes they could take with his character in this season, even though he's out of the game. So let's get into what his future in TPOT could be, with a varying range of wishful thinking and tempered expectations. Starting with a disappointing one, our first option is death, aka what I'd call the worst outcome. BFDI is no stranger to having characters stay dead for an extended period of time, like Woody and Spongy in BFDI-A or Clock in BFB. Because TV died during what is now a real tense and uncertain period, there's a chance he just won't be recovered for a while now that he's been eliminated. It's the worst option not only because he's just dead, but it would mean that his lack of closure would remain lacking. Option 2, irrelevancy, isn't much better, but it could still happen. Because of how recently he got eliminated, he just wouldn't do anything of note in the elimination space and would probably be sent there off screen. I guess it's better than him just being dead, but I'd rather he gets a little bit of relevancy with our third option, involvement in what I'll call the upside down plotline with the eliminated characters. We know they're trying to escape, but aside from info they could get from Snowball, they really have no idea what's happening outside and don't have any means to communicate with anyone right side up. Using his mechanical prowess and power to display visuals from the episodes, TV could keep everyone in the know or even communicate with someone like Robati to try to get help. It could even continue his want for respect, with him finally being shown some after helping everyone out. I think a route like this, or similar to this idea, strikes a good balance between my copium as a fan of his and what they could reasonably do, but I still wouldn't call it the best outcome. Without further ado, here is what I think would give TV a solid resolution. As I stated earlier, the reason Tennis Ball got kicked out of the elimination after he was declared safe is because out of all the characters left in the game, he makes the most sense to care about TV being eliminated. All you really need to do is show it. After everyone is recovered next episode, including TV, Tennis Ball could realize TV got out and be saddened by his elimination. From this appreciation, TV could finally feel a bit respected and maybe even apologize for making the challenge a battle royale before being officially sent to the elimination space. It's not huge, but a little can go a long way in giving a character a satisfying send-off. From then onward, he could become relevant in the Upside Down plot, but even if he faded into the background, I'd be happy that he got a conclusion that feels conclusive. Now, realistically, I don't think a send-off like this is super likely, considering how TV has been underutilized in the past, but this idea, combined with all the other options, show there's a lot of directions his character could go, despite being out of the game. Now you'd think my next stop would be talking about future seasons, but I really have nothing to add. I already spoke about IDFB in my original analysis, and the potential of a 6th season feels way too abstract to make any assumptions about. We need to turn our attention back to the present now, because with his placement set in stone, it's time to conclude how TV earned his spot in TPOT. For being a character who only faced a couple bottom 2s near the end of his run, I'd still say TV's journey in TPOT was surprising and no walk in the park. From his early days of hosting and not having much to do in BFB, to being on a pre-swap team with a lot of fan favorites in TPOT, TV was able to garner a dedicated fan base through his unique style, fun moments, and narrative potential that remained underutilized for a lot of the season. That would honestly be the biggest thing I'd criticize about TV, being that while I love what he does, his time in the spotlight can be on the smaller side, even if he only got better as the season continued. Back to the journey though, his survival also brought him polarization that lasted throughout the team swap until now. He may be out of the game, but I'm still content with the run he had during this season. The thing about his, or really all, eliminations in BFDI that prevent me from being too heated is that they always have a chance of coming back. From another main season, to being a side character, to the ever-present existence of IDFB, every character in theory has the potential to one day shine. It's not like regular reality TV, where if you really like someone who gets out early, your only compensation is following them on Instagram. A first boot can go far. Hell, a first boot can win. Plus, at the end of the day, why be so heated when the episode itself was so fire? Seriously, I was downplaying it for the sake of keeping things focused, but TPOT 19 is another one of the season's best. Getting back on track though, that idea of potential especially applies for TV, because even without considering other seasons, I still hope, or rather cope, that his future in TPOT could have more to offer. He may be eliminated now, but I doubt his status as my number 1 will change anytime soon. Overall, despite having some untapped potential, I'm happy with the mark TV made on TPOT, and hope he will continue to add more to the series in the future. That's all I gotta say. Next character analysis should be on someone not named TV, so if you haven't, please subscribe, like, share, comment if you have any thoughts, and thank you for watching.